Hi, I'm Carol DeArment. In this video, I'm going to talk about my first attempt to try some time-lapse photography. If you don't know what that is, time-lapse photography is a sequence of still photos taken at an interval defined by the photographer. Then all of the still photos are combined into a video so that the effect is kind of like a flip book. For example, here's a sequence of photos that I took at Jack London Square here in Oakland, California. I used an intervalometer to capture a photo every 2 seconds. More about that in a moment. The problem with my time-lapse photo shoot at Jack London Square was that I didn't plan well enough in terms of weather. It was a windy night, and my camera and tripod were already being buffeted about, so I decided to pack it up and select another location the next day. I decided on the Mormon Temple here in Oakland, California, near where I live. It's a beautiful place with gorgeous landscaping and a lovely fountain. I feel safe here bringing all my gear and standing alone photographing in one spot for hours, and it looked like the weather would be really nice and not too windy. I began preparing my photography gear for the next day's photo shoot. My primary DSLR camera is a Canon 70D, and it's great for shooting video. My backup camera is a Canon T3i, which I've had for about 4 years, and it's still good. For this time-lapse photo shoot, I purchased an intervalometer. This device is used to trigger the photos at any interval that the photographer wants. I plan to take a photo every 2 seconds for about 2 hours. This would yield about 2 minutes of time-lapse video. The intervalometer plugs into my Canon 70D at the port where I usually have my shutter release cable. You have to make sure you get one that works for your specific camera. This one cost me about $30 on Amazon. Another small but very important piece of gear is this fast SD card, 64 gigabyte size. This worked well and captured all of my time-lapse photos for the hours that I photographed. I also attached a battery grip to the bottom of my camera. It holds 2 batteries so I can shoot twice as long without changing the batteries. With the high-capacity SD card and the 2 batteries loaded, I was all set for several hours of time-lapse photography. Next day, I arrived at the Mormon Temple and set up my camera on the little footbridge with a good view of the temple, the fountain, the waterway, and the upstream bridge where people walk across. But there's no water. The fountain was turned off, probably due to the drought here in California. I considered moving to another location, but decided to stay here. I attached my Tamron 10-14 wide-angle lens. Because it was a sunny day, I used 2 lens filters, a circular polarizer and a neutral density filter. And I added the lens hood to shelter it from the sun. I inserted the large capacity 64 gigabyte card, checked all of my camera settings, and took a few test photos. Lastly, I attached the intervalometer and set it to take a photo every 2 seconds. I began shooting the sequence. As I watched the scene, I wished that the sky were more interesting and that the fountain had been on. But anyway, this is a start, and I've learned a lot already. Then suddenly a wonderful thing happened. The fountain came on. I was very excited to see the water running toward me, washing over the dry stones. I continued photographing for about 2 hours. People passing by were very friendly and curious, and some of them were fellow photographers. After I finished photographing my time-lapse sequence, I walked around and took still photos as well. Then I headed home to begin editing and post-production. I purchased software called LR Time-Lapse. The LR stands for Lightroom. There were more than 3,000 photos in my time-lapse sequence, so I imported all of those into Lightroom, made adjustments, and then used LR Time-Lapse to make it into a video. So here's my very first time-lapse video. Thank you for looking.